Hello. I know it's been a while since I've made a video, and I know this channel's kind of morphed into a philosophy channel and then a gardening channel. But my interest started out in photography prior to this, and it sort of, it's organically kind of grown into other things. And they're all interconnected in terms of how they apply to my life anyway. But one of the last videos I made was me eating a cucumber. It was a cucumber, a variety that I've never eaten before. Uh, One person found it interesting, and I thought I'd make a similar video with tomatoes. So um, I've been wanting to grow a variety of tomatoes at the same time so that I have, a comparison that I can make all together. Um, so it's taken me this long to do that essentially. Um, so what I got today is I've got this red and black tomato, and this one I bought from Bunnings as a small seedling, I suppose, and planted that in the raised garden bed. If you want to see the label for that, that's there. So these are heirloom variety plants and fruits, which means if I take the seed out, replant it, I'm supposed to be guaranteed to get the same fruit variety again. Whereas what they do in the agriculture industry to produce uh, fruits and vegetables that look nice for the supermarket aisles, they end up compromising the ability to regrow. They end up compromising taste and just natural flavors and things like that. They compromise the natural process in order to appeal to consumers. Um, and one of the trade offs is that you're limited in the ability to replant the seed from the fruit that you buy. However, it's not supposed to be the case with this. So this will be the first time I'm trying one of these tomatoes. We'll see how that goes. There's also a Tiny Tom. I'm not sure if this is an heirloom variety. Again, I bought it from Bunnings. I don't have the card for it anymore. I can look it up. Uh, but it's not quite a cherry tomato. I've seen these grow to maybe double the size of these, double, triple the size. This is a rather smaller one from the bunch that I got. I'm trying to see if there's any more. I'll see if I can find one. Yeah, that one's maybe double the size, but I know they get even bigger than this. But I'll try that one. And there's this one here, which is Granny's throwing tomatoes, what they call it. I don't know what the official name for it is, but there's the card for it if you want to see. It's similar. Um, it's a little bit over ripened since I picked it, and then I had a bunch of these tomatoes all in the same bowl ripening together. What happens is that there's this sort of gas that's released from tomatoes and probably some other fruits as well that are ripe. So the ripe ones release this gas that or chemical which promotes ripening in the non-ripened fruit around it. Kind of like the way women's menstrual cycles will sync up if they live together, that kind of thing. Pheromones, chemicals, whatever, synchronization. So I don't think I've ever tried one of these before, so that'll be my first time too. It's a little bit over ripened, like I said, but I don't think that should be a problem. It's a little bit wrinkly there, as you can see. I also plants I've got haven't been flowering or fruiting at the same time. So this is I think it's called a mortgage lifter. That's the one there. And I'll have to wait for that to ripen up, but it does look like something's burrowed its way in there and possibly laid eggs. The bottoms are supposed to look like prolapse, but uh, that's normal. That's sort of what you get in terms of natural organic aesthetics. things just grow as they're influenced by the environment. I'll have to wait and do a follow-up video for a taste test on that and a slice up. Then I've also got a regular tomato. I've got no idea what this would be called, but these are grown by some our neighbors who are organic farmers. So they've got probably a dozen acres, and they grow high volume tomatoes for markets and supermarkets, things like that. And you can see how uh, visually appealing one is compared to the other, just in terms of our modern expectations of what a tomato is supposed to look like is that. But in the old days, they would have looked more commonly like this, I reckon. But someone sees that these days and they think that it's mutated or something like that. So I'll try that one out as well. I know that these farmers use, where I've got these from, they use the kind of chemicals and processes that are not organic. I've sort of been given things from them before, like things that I've wanted, like the dead branches and leaves and stuff like that, in order to mulch and compost them. And what they've told me is don't feed them to your chickens, which to me indicates that the anything left over or the byproduct of making this is not safe for the natural process. So since then, I've avoided doing much with these, but for the purposes of comparison, we'll see how these go stacked up with the others. So we'll go and open this one up first, I reckon. Let's just have a look here. Okay, that's what everyone's familiar with this, I would suppose. And I'll just get a little bit of a taste. This can be a baseline, I suppose, of comparison. It's got that kind of slightly bitter, and I'd say it's maybe 50% water. You know, when I'm tasting it, it's like 50% flesh, 50% water. The flesh is quite solid, and it's almost like the texture of an apple. And it's a familiar tomato taste, like it's a savory tomato taste. And I'll move on to the red and black one and see what that looks like on the inside. I'll cut it so that you get some of that black skin texture showing up. Or maybe another way. Like that. So that's what that looks like on the inside. Compare it with that. Not too different. Give it a taste test. I'll have some water in between these so I can forget the taste of the previous one. It's actually similar to the greenhouse hydroponic ones that I've got, but it's on the sweeter side. It flows on and becomes sweeter. Try that again. I should probably save some of these seeds too. No, I've got the rest of it to save seeds from. It's a softer texture. It's not a crisper texture This one is a softer texture, not as crisp a texture as the um, the hydroponic one. It is nicer. This one is nicer. Look at that side. And there. I'll go on to the Tiny Tom. See how that goes. And I just want to try and cut it in a way where we can get a good cross section. Again, it looks quite similar in terms of the internal structure, if not a bit. See how this goes kind of straight? This sort of goes off to the side, and with the black and red one, it kind of went straight. Not that it makes much of a difference, but anyway. So that's the Tiny Tom. What I've been doing, because I've been given like an excess of tomatoes from these farmers, and some of mine excess as well. Just been drying them in the oven, and sun-dried tomatoes, amazing seasoning and all that kind of stuff. Let's try this one. It's actually very similar to the hydroponic farmer one. The taste is very similar. Like I said, I don't think these ones are heirloom. They're more like a cross between a regular tomato and a cherry tomato in terms of plant size and growth. It starts out having the same bitterness. It's probably it's got this twang to it. It's hard to explain. It doesn't quite get into the sweet territory, but more of a tangy territory compared to the red and black one, which I'll try again. Yes, it's a much more subdued bitterness, or savory, subdued savory, but then it starts going into being sweet. So I'll try this granny throwing one now. Quite a lot of flesh there. I guess it's kind of the shape of it in comparison. Let's see what that's like. That's a little bit odd too. See, I'm not used to seeing that. Usually with these, if I do a cross section of a regular tomato, then I'm used to seeing that. That's from the hydroponic supermarket style, and that's I know there's like I'm getting a bit picky here about the way they look, but the internal membrane and the way that's growing is sort of, it's a little bit off in terms of direction. That's got so much that's I'm trying to put everything together there because there's so much there. There's it's got a lot more substance than the other ones I've had. The flesh of it is it quickly becomes like a smooth paste. You can see they're roughly the same size tomato. That again, that's the hydroponic one. You can see the internal wall of it has a certain amount of flesh. The inside has a certain amount of flesh, but I suspect that these are largely water. Um, and I don't know, there's something really smooth about this, and the flavor of it, like it evenly mushes everything together and just comes out. I can't. I'm having a hard time um, trying to put it into words. Let's get some of these seeds out. Do it later. I get heaps actually. Let's try that again. It's so smooth. The texture and the flavor is so smooth. It doesn't quite get to being savory at all, or bitter like the others, and just goes into being a really pleasant sweet. It's almost like what not as sweet as a persimmon, but it's just reminding me of a persimmon, like a ripened persimmon. That's nice. That's got so much to it. And there's just you get lost in the flavor of that. Not that it's some amazing flavor, but it's so like it's remarkably different to the others. Again, I'll try that tiny Tom. Yeah, I don't want to eat that. No, I don't want that. The um, the red and black one, that was pretty good though. The red and black one again. That's pretty good. The red and black one's pretty good. If I was to rate them, let's try this. I'll rate them after I try this again. The hydroponic one, the farmer one. It's quite bland actually. Okay, in comparison to it's quite bland. The bitterness isn't so high. It's yeah, it's, it's boring. Yeah, the hydroponic farmer grown one. I would say the flavor and the texture is just boring. I wouldn't. Oh yeah, you can't eat this without adding something else to it. It's a it's an additive. It's not something that stands on its own as uh, with its appeal or lack thereof. It's more bitter. So the Tiny Tom is more bitter than the hydroponic farmer one. So if I was to rank them, I would say last would be the hydroponic farmer one. There's no point even trying to save the seeds out of here because I don't want that. And second last would be the Tiny Tom. Even though it's got that bitterness, it's not bland. So um, that bitter, savory kind of thing, it may be welcome in some situations. Then the second best one out of these four would be the red and black. Try that one just again. There's so much of a difference between that Tiny Tom and the red and black. There's a big difference. It's much more pleasant. It doesn't have that bitter savory kick. And then, like I think you're all going to know that my favorite one here is going to be this granny throwing one. I don't know why the granny would throw it. Maybe throw it into the garden, but because I don't have an expectation, or my expectation has been, for so long, it's been what these things taste like, or the bitterness of this, of the tiny tom. It's like it's pulling in a flavor that I've never really tasted from a tomato before. So it completely surprises me to taste something like this. It yeah, no, that's very nice. I would recommend that a lot more people try this out and experience it for yourself. It's one thing for me to try and describe it. It's another for you guys to experience it, because it's our enthusiasm that sells something. And if it's real enthusiasm, then uh, it means something. It means something. It's real. I'm going to continue getting the seeds out of these, and I'll make another video with this one later. But that's a big difference between those four. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got something out of it. Later.